This is going to be an oracle card pull in honor of the new moon. How are you doing? I hope you're super well. I have some pre-shuffled oracle cards here from the Starseed deck by Rebecca Campbell that I've already went ahead and pulled. So we're going to do like a which one are you drawn to more? And this will be the first pile I'm going to call the sun, and the second pile the moon. So take a deep breath and take a moment to see which one is calling to you, and then I'll timestamp it below if you want to skip to the second pile, and I'll do the first pile as well. And the inspiration for that being the idea of the new moon is when the sun and the moon are together. So your solar conscious daytime self, pile one, and then your more lunar subconscious dreamy vaguer shadow self here. And then if you want to listen to the whole reading, you most certainly can. But before I do that, the deck had this card sitting upright. So this is just going to be a collective message for everyone. And I'm going to start here is this empathetic starseed, which reads energetic sovereignty in absorbing what's not yours. Look, there's the whale too. So I'm going to read that out of the book because when I checked on it, it looked like a very important message for everyone. And if you're tuning into this, you likely need to hear this message whenever you hear it, or whenever this is coming up for you. So it says, empathetic star seeds are here to shift the world through their physical presence alone. They don't need to do anything beyond being here. Thanks to the energetic charge their physical presence causes. Due to their highly sensitive nature, empathetic star seeds can struggle with being on Earth and in a physical body. Many are prone to addiction or depression and tend to mistake other people's feelings or moods for their own. Natural introverts, they tend to prefer spending time alone or in small groups. Crowds can be overwhelming for them, so if this card appears, consider lightening the load energetically. Don't put yourself under such pressure to go out into the world. Be gentle with yourself. Allow extra time and care to recover energetically. If you're feeling pressured to keep up a certain pace, instead put on the brakes and treat yourself like the tenderness of a small child. Do whatever you can to take the pressures of the world off your plate. Switch off to switch back on. In today's world, it's normal to feel that we should be doing more, but perhaps being present in our life is enough. This could be a phase you're going through, or simply how you're being called to live your life. If your work involves giving to others, right now you're being called to keep something for yourself. You don't need to transmute it all, and it's okay to look after your own growth and healing before feeling you should offer it to the world. Indeed, it's necessary if you want to continue to do so sustainably. Then the inquiry is just how can you take better care of yourself energetically? So energetic hygiene is just as important as physical hygiene. And I would say that's the main message of this new moon. Even though it's the day before the new moon of recording, there's still like a window, the days leading and the days after, where we're in that dark, fertile space of the new moon, where there isn't the light of the sun isn't being reflected to cause the full moon, because they're together in the zodiac, and they're together in the zodiac in Leo, which is the heart. Or that's how I like to look at it. It's much more than that. Creative expression, being seen, lots of like being on stage. But for me, I like to just bring it back to the beating heart, and then with the lion, you know, it's what's the courage that's in the heart is the archetype for me, because our society is so mental and so mentally focused, that to come back and just say, like, what does my heart want? I find that to be inspiring. So, and then it's opposed. So even though it's a new moon energy, like new beginnings, new start, fertile void ground, is the cycle where the moon is in, it's opposing Pluto in Aquarius, which has kind of this full moon effect. Since it's an opposition, that's what a full moon is, with the sun and the moon. So we've got a new moon opposing Pluto and in Aquarius. So, you know, Pluto can pull the rug out from under us, but it can be hard to see, and Aquarius can be shocks and traumas to bring about new fresh energy and break up stagnant energy. So you could be going through some of that. So I like that this message is and we're in Mercury retrograde, and Neptune and Saturn stationed and went retrograde a few weeks ago. So there's a lot of internal reflection happening right now. So I like that this message is like, take it easy, and take the pressure off yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Allow extra time. You know, so much of our culture is like solar growth all the time, that we forget that we need the nighttime, and to sleep and to rest and recover, to find a more energetic balance. I like that switch off to switch back on. So it makes me also think of the yin yang, and you know, it's not either or. It's not like all light, no dark. It's both. And so funny. Every time I start doing one of these recordings, my dog always goes to the water bowl. Okay, she's not going to be too noisy this time. So that could be a message, though. What are you thirsty for? And what needs watered? So there's just some permission here to be more internally focused if needed, and to go within. And then it said, you know, it spoke to if you're prone to addiction or depression. I felt it was also necessary to clarify that there's so much change and destabilization, and the structures we used to know and count on are like crumbling, they're unraveling. And so that is, you know, melancholy or not knowing what to do next might be just a part of the process. So I guess what I'm trying to say is give permission for that as well. If that's the case, you know, if you need to go inward, sometimes depression isn't even like speaking on the lines of like light, dark, good, bad, day, night. It's like sometimes depression is necessary to slow down and let the body rest, and, you know, something else on a deeper subconscious level might be processing or happening, even though it doesn't look like anything's happening. So, and that's also true. I used to, you know, when I would teach restorative yoga, like everyone has such a hard time really slowing down, but it's in the slowing down that you can let go of some of the tightness or the heaviness you're carrying. So I know everyone doesn't have that luxury, but if you do, take a moment to just be grateful for it, and know that I like that the message here is saying also how it starts. If you're, you know, it's like you can just be. So the moon's still in Cancer while I'm recording this, but, you know, that like permission to be. And it says you don't really need to do anything besides just existing, because there's a transmission that's happening just in your energetic field. So also a message of like trust the process. And that is another way to look at like let yourself off the hook a little bit. And it's also counterculture and challenging our conditioning mode of like, no, you always have to be productive. I'm really not doing this recording because it's the new moon tomorrow. I'm doing this because I felt a spark and an inspiration to do so. And then it's interesting how what it's led to. And there's this whole question of like, how do I know if I'm a starseed or not? I feel like if you are one, and if you're not, you're probably like not watching this, honestly, because this is the Starseed Oracle. And just a quick note about this deck. I'm not being sponsored to say this by any means, but I recently acquired this author's book, The Soul Had a Dream. And after listening to her, I feel connected to this deck on a whole new level. It was a gift by some friends in 2021. And I thought it was beautiful because they recognized the alien that I am, but alien Aquarius. I'm kidding. I don't know what am I talking about? Let's stay focused on the reading here. Oh yeah, just the last thing too. It's take the pressure off, let yourself off the hook. Any presence you can allow in, know that that's its own gift to the world, and that if you need to take some time alone or to go within or even to just feel your own melancholy, sometimes the darker the moon can be a little melancholy anyways, just because there's a darkness associated with it. And then there was also the message of don't mistake other people's feelings for your own. So also determining, if you're feeling kind of off, like, is this mine or is this something else, someone else's? And sometimes you'll need time away to recharge, if that's the case, and or just to not be in the sphere of influence of someone else that's going to alter your energetic field. So the probably an extra sensitivity here, and then how do you clear that? How do you energetically shower that out? I just have a little spray. I spray, I set my intentions in prayer at the start of the reading, and then have this spray, purifying and healing. I sprayed that. It's really nice. It's so now I just sprayed the cards to consider that your spray. I've energetically cleared you. And, you can use smoke, shower, loofahs. I think I have a meditation on here of how to do it that's pretty old now. I think those were the early pre-pandemic days. I should do some more meditations, but I should also stop talking about what I'm going to do and just do it. So yeah, just getting clear on honoring what's yours and then letting go of what's not yours. So having said that, let's move on. Also fire and water, so day and night, singular purpose. It's the first pile. You don't have to worry about the sun moon, just take a breath and look, which one do you want, and if you want to listen to the whole thing, you can. The pairs go together in what I'm going to read, and the second card, I would like you to think of it more as like night, lunar, moon energy. And then also with the new moon being in Leo, the solar heartbeat, the opposite of Leo on the zodiac. The zodiac where Pluto is Aquarius. So Aquarius is the multiplicity of the stars in the night sky that you only get with the darkness of Pluto there. So it's a very paradoxical new moon, and it's inclusive of both. So, you only see the stars when it's darkest at night, and sometimes Pluto brings us to the depths of our own darkness, and or we can't see it or get to it because it's so subconscious. And so the slowing down and the reflective nature within, it's just a really good time to honor that if you can. And okay, so with that, the first card pull is going to be at, I'm going to scoot those out of the way. So I have the cards closer to the camera if you want to look at them. It's We the Hathors, Deep Love, Mother's Milk, Birth as a Portal. And then Doors Are Opening, You Decide, Rewards, the Wild card, and the Portal card. So that's a pretty strong, clear message. We've got like a doorway leading to the starry sky I was just talking about. But like, look, all this light in the heart, and then just a straight up portal. Now this is how this to me is a beautiful image of how the energy feels right now. Like the old way is crumbling and unraveling, but new doors are opening, but we don't exactly know what's going to come of that. But this energy that's coming through is just so different and new, and it looks like that almost psychedelic. Like what happens when she goes through that portal. So if you are drawn to pile number 1, pay attention to what opportunities are coming your way, and what doors are opening. And I mean, look, that's like a huge archway. It's a huge doorway. So there might be some fear of going into the unknown, and yet you get to decide. But then this deck also says rewards and wild cards. So take it as it resonates. Of course, take what you like and leave the rest. But always. But that there's some sort of gift on the other side of this door, and there's like a wild card element to this, of maybe something unexpected once you do walk through the door, coming to find you. It's just like, I just get this sense of like a brand new energy there in that card. And then I love that it comes out, the description on this one is Deep Love, Mother's Milk, Birth as a Portal. So there's also a message of like something new is being birthed, which, as a reminder, you likely already know. If you've ever given birth or watched someone give birth, it's not the most pleasant experience. It's pretty painful. It's ripping you open. It's stretching you open to new dimensions. And so if it's not a physical childbirth, this can be metaphoric. So what in your life is wanting to be born? Like what's the new? There's like a threshold and a crossing through something, through the gate. So this could be a moment of pause and talking to the gatekeepers, asking permission, asking for help, asking for assistance, just pausing to see what's the new step you need to take, what's the new direction, what's the new opportunity, and also acknowledging that like maybe it's not a logical from A to B. It's not like if I do this, I'll get this. It's literally trusting the process and just not knowing what's going to arise until the steps are taken, which is scary because that's not how we've been taught or conditioned. And there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of change. So humans don't like that. And yet this feels like the message for the new moon, because there is this collapsing of the old way, and the word of the week has been unraveling. I've heard that numerous places from different people that I all love and admire, and to the point where it's like I feel like I hear a bell go off every time. I'm like, there's that word again, unraveling. So just to speak to that is the idea of what you used to do could be unraveling. The way you used to do it could be unraveling. The way who you are, your own identity could be unraveling. The situation you find yourself could be unraveling. The plan you thought you had in place a month ago could be unraveling. Fill in the blank, ... What is it for you when you tune in that's unraveling in your sphere? Because it's in that creates space for something new. And it's not easy. It's not easy to decondition, because then we don't feel like we have an anchor or security. So a little bit of insecurity. And yet, with the word unraveling, do you ever hear anyone say, I'm going to go ravel something? Like, it's funny because even though I keep hearing this word unravel, it makes sense. We know what that means, to unweave something that's been woven. So that's a very important message just for right now. And yet, when someone says they're going to go like sew something, knit something, create something, no one says, no, you never hear anyone say, I'm going to go ravel this. Now, you will hear people say, another example would be to untangle something. You do hear, I got all tangled up in this. So there's like an untangling happening right now. And with untangling becomes this idea that you got to kind of be loose and gentle, right? If you try and force it or tug it, it's just going to make the knot worse. And what was my other example here? I forget. Unravel, untangle, like a complete undoing, It's the middle of the summer in the northern hemisphere, so it's like when you melt, this letting go of the old form. And I would say that fits with the transmutation message that came at the beginning of July with the prior reading. So there's this transmutation, and I think that was the alchemist card I was speaking of. And the butterfly in the cocoon, if you're in a cocoon, just give yourself permission to be in that cocoon. And if it feels kind of dark and scary, or you're kind of depressed, like, just know that that's okay. And that if you're turning to goo and it feels like everything's dying, like, it doesn't mean it's the end, it's just changing form, right? So energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can only change form. But we get so caught up on death that thinking death is like the final end, when really it's a changing of form, and it might be a permanent end in one way. So the caterpillar never goes back to being the caterpillar, but it isn't the end of the life form itself. So having said that, I'm going to read the We the Hathors, because I really liked the message when I looked at it before. So I'm pulling the card up to the screen if you want to take a moment to look. So look, it's like going through an old structure to get to this starlit, beautiful sky behind it, or what's on the other side of this structure. Meanwhile, these statues have like heart-filled light. So again, that message of what's happening in the heart, and I even invite you. You don't have to do it, but to just, we get so mental, like what's logical, what's survival, what's practical. Like, just ask your heart what it wants, and have the courage to just see what it says. Because it might be a totally different answer, and then that would also be a way to, I feel, honor this new moon, is to honor the heart and what it wants. And on that note, the We the Hathors is, so birth is a portal that ushers in new life. Back to the portal theme too, big portal theme here. The Hathors are here I'm not familiar with the Hathors, but they're here to remind you that you're a child of the cosmic mother, and you're being called to be held by her deep, never-ending love and embrace. This is a tender, nourishing card reminding you to receive the deep, deep love of the mother's embrace. The Hathors know that the journey on earth can be rocky and lonely at times, but you're being reminded to rest more deeply in the mother's arms. This is a card of extreme potency, of femininity, of creation, and of birth. You're being called to mother yourself and others too, to surrender to your sacred femininity, to create and surrender to your own creations, to hold and be held. You're being called to remember your place in the web of life, and to realize that the cosmic mother is watching you every step of the way. You may be going through a transition right now, moving from one way of being to another. If so, you're being reminded that you're cradled in a sacred container, that you're more held than you can possibly imagine, and you have access to more love than your heart can bear. If you're struggling in any way, you're being reassured that things will work out. Open yourself to receiving the overflow of the cosmic mother flooding towards you from every direction, and let it stretch your heart. So interesting that I was just talking about the heart and being stretched. I didn't think to put the two of those together, but now you can. And just this message of things are going to work out, and to remember that you're loved and held, even if it doesn't feel that way. And if you're in a cocoon, that's okay. So if you were drawn to the first pile, that is your message. Change, transition. You're going through, you're going from one thing to the next. You're crashing a threshold while unraveling something that used to be. And then with the overarching message of give yourself permission, and it's okay to take it easy. And I dare say what's on the other side of the door. In the heart, courage is with heart. So also finding some, if the doorway seems scary, how can you ask for some courage to cross? So, okay, next, if you are drawn to pile number 2, and or if you just want to continue listening, I'm gonna flip this over here at the 28 mark. Ooh, I just think that's such strong imagery together. Let's put our whale friend back over now. Let's put this. It creates too much shadow. Anyways, if you picked pile number 2, this is the void. Stop, embrace winter and the great cosmic womb. It's pretty much just how the sky looks with no moon in the sky. And then we also have the golden children, and another portal, another doorway, and it says inner child, tenderness, innocence, and rare gifts. So at the time of the new moon, your message, if you picked pile number 2, is that there's we're in that void space, in the space of the new moon, within a couple days, give or take, of tomorrow. And sometimes we look at the dark as scary or bad or evil or those shadow associations, but it can also just be, when the seed is planted, it's in the dark of the ground. When the baby is in the womb, it's in the dark of the womb. Up here we had the birth card. So this is even more a space, this is where creation comes out of. And so just taking a moment to be or honor the void, instead of it being the scary, like I have a void, I'm empty, I need to fill it, more of just like, how can I let this be here and give it space and go inside and reflect and see what wants to emerge out. So I definitely feel like that is a part of the message, along with the golden children, which they're a newer generation. I only just learned of them, I'd say within the past month. Because there's the indigo children, and then the next generation was the rainbow children, and then the golden children. So let me read on the book on this to give you some insight. So they're children of the sun, hence the golden terminology. And they are highly advanced, extremely intelligent souls who are incarnating increasingly on planet Earth. They have little or no personal karma and possess incredible gifts and intuitive abilities. Golden children are born with a very clear mission. Many remember from a young age and begin to answer and start sharing it early in life. They have a unique intelligence, and they may find themselves easily bored at school. Most have never incarnated on Earth before, so if they're not supported in the right ways, they really struggle with physical life here. And they're often referred to as new humans. If this card is pulled, it might be a sign that you're either being called to mother, father, or nurture a child. And if not a physical child, then your own inner child, a creative idea or project or a new beginning. So these cards all have this new beginning theme, which is perfect for a new moon. To treat yourself or the new beginning with sweet, tender love, to nurture and nourish it, to give it every chance to grow and reach adulthood, to encourage it, to water it, to see the world through the innocence of a child, and to see yourself and all others as innocent children. To remember that deep down everyone's trying their best, and if they're treated with a tender heart, they'll perhaps not harden as the journey through, perhaps they'll not harden it as they journey through this great adventure called life. And then the inquiry is, how can you treat yourself or others more tenderly? And if anything lit up around, what needs tended to within you, or if there is a little person, is there a little person in your life that could use the right kind of support, and how can you give that to them? The right support for them, not the old ways. And I'm just trying to feel what wants to come through along the lines of innocence. If we have a wounded inner child, then there's a loss of innocence. So in a way, it's like, how do you recover that innocence? And then the more you're able to recover that innocence within, then you can have more compassion for everyone and realize that our wounds are really the only thing that creates so much separation. So when I say I support doing the inner healing work, this is what I'm talking about, because it ripples out. And especially if you didn't get what you needed as a young child, or what was needed for, maybe you got the basics, but maybe you didn't have your own individual needs tended to. So if you drew this, I would say that there's a message there that like tend to that. And both these card pulls have the message of complete unconditional love and being held, just in a different way. So how can you either give that support to yourself and reclaim what's been lost, which requires some wound facing, it even requires some shadow work. So with the void there, so going deep into yourself to figure out what that is, go through that portal to figure out what that is. And I would say be willing to go through the heart to go uncover that. Leo can also be narcissism, which is like this trendy word. It's not just a trendy word, but I mean, it's like trendy to just throw that word around a lot. And there's whole communities around narcissistic abuse, and I've suffered my own in intimate relationships and with a parental relationship. And yet, because of that, I tend to have a negative association with Leo, because that's the shadow side of Leo, is that like spotlight's on me, it's all about me, and like you don't matter. But if you look at that in the form of like a child, children are supposed to have that spotlight on them, or as a teenager, right? Like everything is all about you. So it's a childlike creative expression when it's not wounded or in its shadow side. And there's a lot of mythology I could bring to the table around this, but with Hercules, and then this wearing of the mask to overcompensate for the wound of not being given the support needed. So this all makes sense in my head. I don't know that it's making any sense the way I'm communicating it, but this idea of how can you shine that light for what someone specifically and individually needs? And if you didn't get that, how can you give that to yourself? That's the message. If you pulled card 2. And if I'm not being incredibly clear, I hope it's coming through. I hope it's sparking something within you regardless, if you're listening to this. And then just, I feel like that is complete. That's what wanted to come through. But just when I glanced at the void card, my eyes went right to, where'd it go now? The most productive thing to do is relinquish control and surrender to the changing mystery of your life. So there's that question too. So combine the two of those, right? Recover the innocence, offer support, and then surrender the control. And I love that, to the changing mystery of your life. Relinquish control and surrender to the changing mystery of your life. And then the deck also says, in this card surfaces, it's the end of the chapter or a life phase. So we're being called to let go of what we know and identify with, which has been also an overarching message of this whole reading and the first pile. It can feel scary and as if you should be doing something. So there's a lot of that, like, might feel like you're being unproductive. It might feel really scary. It might feel like it's all coming to this, if you don't do anything, you're going to lose it all. But then the message seems to be like, nope, that's just where we're at in the process. So if anything, hopefully you listening to this can just help you trust wherever you're at in the process. And, in the Northern Hemisphere, like I said, it's summer, it's not winter. This says embrace winter, but I would say, embrace the winter within, because you don't know what's going to grow. And just because things might look dead doesn't mean, like when things look dead in the dead of winter doesn't mean there isn't new growth coming. And again, to that message of just because it looks like nothing's happening, it doesn't mean there isn't anything happening, but give the ideal conditions needed for what wants to emerge.